Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is another video brought to you by Ant's Hood. In today's video it's going to be about my 5,000 plus Carebara diversa, yes, all in an artificial setup. Now the reason why I've called it that is because when I first got these, especially the first time round where I managed to kill them off, well they did have a mite infection, so you know, so be it. The common knowledge was that you can only keep these as a naturalistic setup, be it with soil and stuff like that. Now I wanted to take the plunge and I wanted to get an artificial setup so you guys can get good video footage of inside the nest and what's going on. And to tell you the truth, I think I've pulled it out the bag, because when I say a 5,000 strong colony, I'm being conservative. Now I got these just over a year ago from Ant Antics, so by all means check out his website, there'll be a link in the description below, because I do get a discount. I think Ant's Hood is good 2022, I think it is the discount code, so make sure you use it. But anyway, I'm going off on one. So I got this colony about a year ago, and to tell you the truth, I had quite a slow growth start. They were doing fine, but I was expecting for a fast growing species to explode, but they didn't. But just recently, they have literally taken off. But anyway, let's check out my last video to see where they're at and compare it to now, and you'll see there's a big difference. So bearing in mind, my last video was only just over a month ago, and I'll put a link in the top right corner now for that, so you can check it out. If you check out the main outworld, you'll see it's not very busy. They've got plenty of space in there if they need to, and the little outworld to the right here, yeah, they've got a few ants in there. They've put some of the trash in there. That's all been cleared out now, by the way. And the nests, well, this is the main nest. There's plenty of space still left in there, so I don't need to worry about expanding them. But regardless, that I had still plenty of space left in the main nest here, and there was still some in the smaller nest, which I haven't got a picture of at the moment. I still had a Wakooshi MS 5.5 on standby just in case, and to tell you the truth, I'm glad that I did, because you've got to check out this next video and see how much they have grown in this very short period of a month. Now bear in mind that we all know that Carebara diversa commit about 8% of the nest to any food once they find it, give or take. But there's no food in there. There's an empty test tube of water and there's a bit of sugars in the honey jelly pot there, but there is no food in there. But look how busy they are in the outworld. Now, I don't know, I think I have to pan round in a second. If I pan round here, oh, I'm doing it now. Look at this small outworld. Look how rammed they are in there. Absolutely packed in there. They're all over the walls, all over the roof. I can't get in there, but I need to sort out in the future. And some of the majors are cutting around in there as well, which is always cool to see. Now, bearing in mind the glare of the light, I do apologise, but you'll get to see how dark it is, so how packed it is in those nests. It's absolutely rammed. Now, if we take a look at the small nest, or the MS 3.5, you'll see that there is still a little bit of space in there. I'll get a macro shot so you can have a look in a second. There is still a little bit of space in there, but generally speaking, it's pretty full. Considering how many workers are out in the outworlds, it tells me there just isn't enough space, because if they all piled into that, it would be absolutely rammed. And to tell you the truth, the situation in the MS 5.5 that's connected is there is no space in there. They've left the central corridor fairly free, but there is some brood stacked up on the walls, but you'll see that when I get my macro lens on in a bit. But there is literally no space left. So this is one of the reasons why I think they're so busy in the outworld, is because they need an expansion of the nest. And like I said, I'm lucky enough to have another one of these nests on standby. And you guys know it's coming because I love a macro shot. Let's get a macro lens on the MS 3.5, or the smaller of the two nests. Unfortunately, for both the macro shots for both this nest, which is the 3.5, and the other nest, the 5.5, I find it very difficult to focus in the nest properly, and it's because there's so many workers, as you've just seen there, on the clear acrylic on the roof, and I've really struggled to focus past them. So just bear that in mind. There's not a lot I can do about it. But if we check out this nest, you'll see that I've got some majors kicking around, possibly into the super major world. I probably think it's probably a safe bet, even get my words out. But generally speaking, there is tons and tons of the minor workers. Look at that. That is definitely a super major. She is a monster. Just look at her plodding around. But you'll see there is some brood in here, and I struggle with the light as well, just because of the angles that I'm filming at, so I do apologise. But as you can see, there is not a lot of space. Now, I don't know what that is. I think it might be a bit of a cockroach. I haven't got a Scoobies. It looks that way with the exoskeleton and what's left of it. They will process down that exoskeleton, believe it or not, and I think they eat that as well, because don't see a lot of exoskeleton debris considering how many cockroaches are put in their trash piles. So I do think they go to town on that as well. But like I said, there is not a lot of extra space in there, to be honest, to cram all the extra workers that you see in the outworld. So I do need more workers, more nest space. And look at the highway as well. It's just so busy. I love these ants. But let's take a good look at the macro shot of the MS 5.5, or the larger of the two. That is one weird looking larvae. I've never seen one outstretched like that. I don't know what it is. Well, it's obviously a larvae, but I don't know what it's going to come out to be. Probably a super major if it's that big already. But as you can look through, this is what I'm talking about. I really struggle to focus past. But there is tons and tons of super majors now, which is really cool to see. I don't generally see the larger super majors going into the outworlds yet, but I definitely see the smaller of the super majors going out, and I might have some footage of that in a bit. I can't remember. But if we look through the nest, you see how rammed it is. There is literally brood everywhere. You've got workers trying to squeeze in past each other. There isn't no clear highways until you see the middle of the nest anyway. And it's just too busy. There just physically isn't the space for them anymore in their nest. So I desperately need to expand it. Now, if you remember my last video, I think it was a super major party, I think I called it. There was plenty of super majors, but as you can see as I'm panning round, they've already seen loads. My super major population has exploded, as well as my minor workers, which are the backbone of the colony anyway. Just look how rammed this is with brood. I mean, literally, I think I've left it a little bit too late for an expansion, to be honest, but because I've been away for the past week, and bearing in mind from how it was previously to this, and check out that video because I have macro shots of in my last video as well, that they're absolutely exploded in numbers. But here's an interesting point. Look how pale they all are. I believe this area is where all of the newly emerged miners are hanging out, because they're still quite yellow. If you look at the older miner workers, they're very black. Here's a good contrast here. So I do think these are newly emerged. Now, if they're newly emerged, there is absolute tons of them. So I think that, yet again, I really need to think about getting another nest on standby, because I don't think it's going to be long until they fill the new one, which I'll be connecting a bit later in this video. And believe it or not, I've still got a lot of this nest to show you with what's going on. So I don't even know what I'm focusing on here. Oh, there we go. We've got some more brood in here as well. Like I said, it's full to the top of brood, and I cannot focus past the workers on the top, so I can't really get any good pictures. Look at the size of that head. I've got no idea. I think I try and look. The head's huge. I'm imagining that's another super major that I've got there. I think I'm touching the larger size of super majors, because I think you'll see at the back end of this clip where there is one that's almost as big as the queen. So I believe that I do have the largest of the super majors now. But as I say, as you're panning around, it's an absolute nightmare trying to get any decent footage of inside this nest, just because it's so busy. I might, at the end of this video, now they've occupied the new nest that I've connected, which you'll see me do in a bit, that I will hopefully be able to see a bit better, and I might try and do another macro shot at the end, but I'll need to refilm that because I haven't done it yet. But I think, here we go, we're panning round. I think I see the queen pop by. Yeah, was that the queen or was that another super major? They're just so difficult to tell because they're so big. It wasn't this. I've got another shot coming up. I'll show you it. I'll tell you what, guys, this is so cool. Look at the size. That's the queen there. Bearing in mind, she is not a small queen. She's one of the biggest queens I've ever seen, that I've ever kept anyway. She's huge. She's about 2.5, 3 centimetres long. Now, look at her head compared to that major's head. I believe the major's head's even slightly bigger. I think they just about touch heads shortly in a second, and you'll see what I mean. Now, she is not quite as big as the queen, but I think she's as big as they're going to get, because she is ginormous, and that's the major in the centre of the screen. She's absolutely huge, and compare her to the minor workers that are cutting around all around her. She's just a monster. And there's another super major as well, another big one. I think she's definitely top end of the size as well, because she's massive. And just think, that worker, that big worker that's going underneath her there, that is probably one of the larger sizes of the media workers, or possibly one of the main majors that you'll see cutting around the outworld quite a fair bit. That's how big these are. These girls are huge, and this is what I love about them. They're just so gorgeous to look at, and they're just so interesting with the polymorphism and stuff like that. I'm absolutely in love with this colony. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I knew this was going to be a nightmare, because just how packed both the nests are. My angles, of course, are terrible because I'm just not a filming, editing guru. But the best way to do this was by pulling it out and then getting cotton wool in there straight away to try and limit the amount of workers that are going in and out. I don't do a brilliant job of it, but I do better than I've done previously. And I also keep knocking it out as well because Hood's a special kind of ant keeper. He's just an idiot. This was fairly successful compared to some of my other ones. And believe it or not, when you first get these, the workers are quite timid and they don't necessarily bite you. But when they're at the size that mine are, as you can see, they're all over my hand. These little workers are teeny tiny. They don't sting, but they do have a powerful bite, and you definitely feel it when you're getting bitten by them. So if you had a mass outbreak with these getting all over your hand, you're going to know about it. Yes, it's not as bad as my Solenopsis because they were just nightmarish and they stung. But these guys, even the little ones, have got a powerful bite, and I would not be surprised in the slightest that if I ever got bitten by a major, that it would be able to break through my skin. Because if these hurt, these tiny little things, imagine a major, which is 500 times its size, biting down onto me. That is going to draw blood. Maybe a super major being 500 times as big as the miners might be far-fetched, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's far off of that. Those super majors are big ladies. Now, I do strongly recommend that when you do this, that as you can see that I'm doing about now, is I'm getting a cotton bud and I'm going around policing up all the workers. If you get them at this stage, they're generally going to hover around the area because they're a bit confused themselves. They don't quite know what's going on, and you can easily pick them up. And because they're quite defensive, they'll generally clamp onto the cotton bud as well, so you can easily tap them into the outworld. This is how I go about it. I would strongly recommend that you do the same, because if they start getting a bit organised, then they'll just disappear all over my desk and I'll be running around my ant room trying to find them. At this point, I've disconnected the 3.5 and I'm going to connect the new 5.5, and I want to put that between the two nests because they're already established nests that they're using, and I'm pretty much going to force them to move into this nest if they want to get between the two areas. So they've already got a trail set up, so they'll naturally just pour straight into the new nest, which means I don't need to worry about the slow transition into using it. They'll go straight into it. Now, as I connect it up, you see that was quite seamless, not too painful. And the cotton wool, I just drop that into the outworld, and I'll deal with that later, trying to get them off it. Because trying to flick them all off at this point would be a nightmare. But you can see them instantly pouring in to the new nest as well, which is good. Like I'm getting bitten by a media worker there. Now that is a media worker. And look how strong her bite is as well. This is what I'm talking about. Those super majors are going to hurt. But yeah, so I managed to flick it off. But you'll see at the end of this video, I did a classic Ant's Hood boo-boo. Yep, I forgot to put cotton wool in the other end of this nest, so as soon as they're getting in, they're just pouring out. And believe it or not, it actually took me a while to figure out what I'd done because I'm running all over the place again. Classic Ant's Hood boo-boo. Now, I missed the first part of this recording. I thought I'd connected it all in, but I hadn't. And as you can see here, they were running around all over the place. I don't know why, but I seem to have struggled quite a fair bit to get that tubing into the new nest. But as you can see slightly to the left of this video, there is plenty of ants just pouring into there. And this is what I mean. I'm kind of forcing them to use it, forcing them to go and explore. And you'll see that that highway between the nests and this tubing is just instantly, right, I'm in there, we need to go here, because it's just something weird going on. And it kind of makes them go into that nest. So they explore it, set up their trails, set up their scent in this nest, and they'll occupy it a lot quicker. And like I said, if I remember at the end of this video, I'll put a clip of what the new nest looks like now. But that's not all I did to this nest. Yes, I connected an extra nest, this setup, should I say. Yes, I connected a new nest to it, but I decided that I also needed to do something else as well. But I'll discuss that in a second. What I do want to show you is the time-lapse, because Hood loves macro shots and he loves time-lapses. So check out the time-lapse and you can see the trails they've had exploring the nest, the new nest that is, and it's better, more visualised if it's speeded up. So check out this. So as you can see, you'll notice that the trail that they're kind of forming is they're exploring all the four corners and all the little nooks and crannies of this nest. The reason they're doing that is because they're actually sizing it up to see if it's big enough for them to move into. Now, I know, you know, and everyone knows that it's not going to be big enough to move the whole nest into, but they can use it to expand into. And this is what I'm talking about as well. You see the majors are coming in to check it out as well, not the super majors yet. And they're just, like I said, exploring all the corners to see how big it is and size it up. I also humidified it before I connected it all up as well, so I knew it was plenty humid in there for them, so it is ideal. I must admit, I do love these nests. So if you guys cast your mind back to when just before my Solenopsis all escaped in that horrendous mass ant attacking event of my ant cave, I connected this tubing that went along the wall up on top of my computer tower where I had an outworld that was attached. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the good footage of this, but you'll see it in a second anyway. Now, bear in mind, this is my Solenopsis, and I had the outworld up here for them, but that didn't stop there. It also went round the back with another tubing. That goes along the wall, as you can see here, but I've changed the outworld from the glass one, because I'm using it for something else, to a Wakooshi S4 outworld. To connect this all up, I had to get a bit inventive with the tubing, because the outworld nest to the right, obviously this is a more recent picture, we've all connected it up, that is where my Carebara are, and I've got my leaf cutter outworld at the back, that's all the green stuff, and I've got my meat ants to the front. So I couldn't just tube it around fairly easily, so I had to get a bit inventive. So my plan here, as you can see from the speeded up bit of video, was to connect the tubing to go in the corner of those two outworlds there, so I can push it up flush, so I don't lose a lot of space on my desk. Now, I haven't got a lot of space on my desk as it is, but it was to try and make it so it hides it quite well. Now, I have to size up tubing, cut tubing to size and stuff like that. I'm not going to go through it all because it's boring, but you get the general gist of what I've done to try and achieve connecting them to those outworlds. Now, the reason I've done this is because, one, I need to get in the outworld and apply a new barrier on the main outworld because they've crossed it and I can't take the lid off without them escaping. And I need to limit the numbers that are going in there. Now, having the new nest will help that, but having other places to expand is going to help as well. Now, thinking back, as I said to my live stream actually, if you watched it, thinking back to my Solenopsis, I think part of their issues were they needed more roaming space and I didn't provide enough of them, hence why they escaped. So I'm bearing that in mind and I'm connecting this all up for them now, so I don't need to worry about for the foreseeable future. But like I said, I'm very conscious that I'm going to be moving house soon, and this is going to be a pain to disconnect and block it all off to transport it. But I guess that's the kind of risk I'm going to take, because yet again, like I was saying, I'd rather have the faff later on than these guys getting out of the outworld, because I can't secure the barrier in the main outworld that currently is, because they're just crawling all over it. Makes my life a lot easier when it comes to feeding them, etc. as well, because I've got different places that I can feed them. And not only that though, I'll be able to see the awesome trails that they make when they go from the main nest up to where the food stuff is. Even though, as it's been connected for over a day now, they're still not massively going into the S4 outworld right at the end of the tubing. But I think once they get bigger in numbers and they get more inventive or set up more of those foraging trails, they're more likely to use it. And to tell you the truth, now it's all connected, I've probably lost about an inch or two of the space on my desk, because it's worked out pretty much how I wanted it to. So it's not a great loss in space there, but a massive gain for my Carebara for foraging space. Now, I just want to run through some pictures. I sum up this video, but I didn't actually use these in the main video itself, but I did still want to show you these guys because there are absolutely awesome pictures for an absolutely awesome colony. They're great ants to keep, and I would recommend for anybody that can keep up with them and it's got the experience for them. They're not the easiest to get started and get established, but I think I've proven with this video and my other ones regarding this colony, you don't need a naturalistic setup for these. I have gone nothing but 100% artificial with these girls, and I've still managed to keep the colony healthy with no mites and stuff like that. And I've managed to see them grow, should I say, in an artificial setup where they've got to significant numbers. Like I said before, I think 5,000 was a conservative guess. I wouldn't be surprised if it's double that, because as we know from my Solenopsis, I'm absolutely pants at estimating numbers. But anyway, that's it for today then, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video. I did really enjoy making these because I love getting close up with my Carebara. I think they're awesome. But if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, should I say. I'll put a link in the top right corner now so you can check out their playlist. It's a small playlist at the moment, but I'd imagine that it's going to get quite extensive going forward. As always, I need to thank my patrons for their continued support in my channel, even though I've not been consistent with my videos. So please say a big thank you to Adam W, Ant Antics, Anty Matters, David D, Paul A, Pjants, Pjants, and the 530 Ski, because your continued support really helps. And don't forget to check out a link in the description below if you want to become a Patreon. I also have a big massive thanks to my YouTube membership, which is Anty Matters, Lee, Pjants, Pumpkin, and Wakooshi, because your support is also very valuable to me. Now, if you want to join my YouTube membership, I believe there's a link just below this video that YouTube put up, not what I do. But I think they put a default in my description anyway. I'm not sure. Check it out and find out. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye for now.